We will, because we must, chronicle what happened this weekend and what was said about what happened. Because what you saw and what was said about what you saw matters greatly for this country, this administration, expectations of justice, and the preservation of constitutional rights. Alex Pretti, an intensive care nurse with the Veterans Administration, was shot and killed by federal officials. They surrounded him after knocking him to the ground. There was pepper spray before that. Pretti was helping two other women. All three were protesting immigration enforcement. Pretti was using his cell phone to record immigration actions. Federal officials regarded Pretti's behavior as obstructive. Typically, obstruction is met with arrest. The agents who descended on Pretti outnumbered him at least 5-1. Achieving an arrest, therefore, was not beyond reason. In fact, it would have been the most rational de-escalatory reaction. Pretti died at the scene. A 9mm handgun that he had a permit to carry was taken from his waistband before he was shot. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said Pretti, quote, attacked federal officers. Customs and Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino said, quote, it looked like Pretti wanted to massacre law enforcement. Top White House advisor Stephen Miller called Pretti, quote, a would-be assassin who tried to, quote, murder, unquote, federal officers. The White House today refused to endorse any of these statements. Was Pretti exercising his First Amendment rights or impeding federal law enforcement? The audience for this program, large and diverse as it is, may differ on the answer to that question. And however you come down on that answer, two other questions painfully intrude. Did Alex Pretti have to die? And upon his death, did Pretti deserve to be called a domestic terrorist, bent on massacre or murder? How we answer those questions will, in large measure, decide how America proceeds from what this weekend former President Bill Clinton called a moment that will shape our history for years to come, and that former President Barack Obama described as a wake-up call. The stress of all this falls upon Minneapolis and Minnesota in many ways, politically and for local law enforcement. Here is the chief of police in Minneapolis.
This is not sustainable. This police department has only 600 police officers. We are stretched incredibly thin. This is taking an enormous toll trying to manage all of this chaos on top of having to be the police department for a major city. It's too much.
And here is Minnesota Republican Chris Maddow, who today ended his race for governor.
I cannot support the National Republican's stated retribution on the citizens of our state, nor can I count myself a member of a party that would do so. Operation Metro Surge has expanded far beyond its stated focus on true public safety threats.
Top House Republicans still place more blame on Minneapolis than federal immigration officials, which now in the city number about 3,000.
They've got some failed local leadership. They let their city burn down years ago. They have chaos, it seems like, all the time in places where other cities don't. ICE is operating in a lot of cities, Margaret, and you don't have these kind of incidents in any other city but Minneapolis.
If I were President Trump, I would almost think about, okay, if the mayor and the governor are going to put our ICE officials in harm's way, and there's a chance of losing more, innocent lives or whatever, then maybe go to another city and let the people of Minneapolis decide, do we want to continue to have all of these illegals?
The state of Minnesota was in court today seeking a federal order to end Operation Metro Surge. The president sent his border czar, Tom Homan, to take over operations in Minneapolis. And the president said after a call with Democratic Governor Tim Walz, the two were now on a similar wavelength. For more on today's events and what may come next, we turn to Lilia Luciano in Minneapolis. Lilia, the latest.
Hey there, Major. Well, I have been on the ground now for 2 days, just hearing from people. Right now, where we are is where Alex Pretti was killed. As you can see, there's a growing memorial. People are solemn, quiet. I have seen many people coming up here, bringing flowers, crying. I've also been hearing from local business owners. I've sat with an immigration attorney. I sat with a legal immigrant who was detained for 24 hours. He said that agents told him it was, this happened in the early days of the operation, that it was because he looked Hispanic. He said his community is afraid. The immigration attorney tells me that they are overwhelmed. And I just sat with a local business owner who tells me that he's not an activist, but that the moment Renee Good was killed, and then when Alex Pretti was killed, he took out to the street to see what was happening, and he describes what is happening in Minneapolis as a war zone. He says it's unlike anything I have ever seen, including 2020. That what we heard from lawmakers in D.C. about how ICE is carrying out operations and raids in other cities and not meeting the same kind of violence is something that I also heard from the head of the GOP here in Minnesota, who I sat with today. It seems like there is this narrative from one side that is saying the reason things are violent is because protesters are more violent. From the people in the community that I've heard from, they're saying the reason things are more violent is because they are targeting us. They're saying this is a political fight coming from the Trump administration that has been zeroing in not just on the immigrant community here, on the Somali community here, starting with, as we have been reporting on and as we've witnessed those fraud allegations, but also now on the protester community and specifically on the leadership of the city. This is what I keep hearing here, that there is that tense division between state's administration, the city's administration, and then the Trump administration at the federal level. And that seems to be the most active fight that is happening under all of this.
On the scene for us, Lilia Luciano, with all the conversations you are having and the reporting that stems from it. Thank you very much.